I like the fact that Brian Haldane evolves and learns. What?
Why? Try that again?
I like the fact that Brian Haldane evolves and learns.
Okay. All right.
We're good?
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't by that response.
No, this is a completely different problem that shouldn't happen, but it's gone now. So
Oh, well, I think everything seems to have weird bugs in the system lately. It's like
this
I'll be
place.
in the middle of
In this place.
something
I come in early yesterday to talk to Kilmeade, and we're recording because he's on Fox and Friends while I'm on, so I can't do a live interview with him.
Yeah.
So I got to come in like an hour and a half early for that. The spots started rolling back through the interview when we're not even in a live board. It was the most bizarre
That's so
thing.
strange. Yeah. No, even this morning I'm listening to a podcast and all of a sudden it stopped. And then when I go to my phone, every time I'd hit the podcast icon, the screen would just go black. And it's like, what is that?
So if you're just now listening, YouTube Live, I didn't say Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Today we're going to have Karen Profita on. We're also going to have the Morning Exiles, a podcast group. You know Bill and Kevin. It's going to be a low key episode today, Brian. It's going to be low key. I'm a little under the weather.
I haven't seen
Friday
Loki yet.
episode. You should
You
have
haven't
jazz.
seen Loki? Ah! I'm a
You should
little.
have some jazz music behind it for Loki,
YouTube mutes us when we do that.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
This is
They're so
is
picky.
what and I'm being rude, Karen. I'm just sharing this to all the social media. This is what you get when Franz was supposed to. Oh, Kevin Gallagher is saying the doors are locked. It's symbolic.
I mean,
Lady Jag's down there.
Buzz front door. Is she down there?
Yeah.
She was down there, yes. Hold on one second. I'm trying to finish this up. The Geaux Rouge show. It's a 2-minute intro, and then we do, and then I'm going to segue right into you.
Okay.
So, I mean, you've forgotten more about radio than I know, so.
Yeah, just 7 years doing my show and 9.5 years coaching 300 radio stations. But
No big deal.
yeah,
No big
in 5
deal.
countries.
Yeah, no big
I can do it with
deal.
an Irish accent even if you like.
All right, so whenever you're ready, sir.
yeah.
And then it's on YouTube Live right now.
Great.
I mean, we can have like 1,000 people watching, but the views are the views. Did you ever figure that out, by the way?
No, I have not figured that out, but it is infinitely infuriating because I did the experiment
Kevin!
again. There he is. I did it again, and the exact same thing happened, but the numbers were even more disparate. So I don't
Disparate.
understand.
That's such a good word.
He used disparate in a sentence. Brian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
It's the bird in front of you, disparate.
It repeats everything you say.
Kevin, just set that purse on the floor. Say, yeah, please.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's
All right, episode 97 of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. This is your host, Franz Borchardt. If you're listening on YouTube Live or on Talk 107.3, welcome to another week of Franz, Brian, and some wonderful guests. On this week's Geaux Rouge Show, we have Karen Profita, and we have Kevin and Bill from the Morning Exiles. It's going to be a low-key, not low-key, but low-key episode today, Brian.
I was gonna say, because none of these guests have anything to do with Loki.
I'm going to try to power through. I'm low energy today. I'm low energy.
Why lead the show with that?
So this is what happens
You
when you have
basically told everybody
Yeah,
to go away.
under.
depressing.
It's kind
I
of
think I'm
like
gonna leave.
it's kind of like the visitor parking spots of the Guarantee Broadcasting Building.
Oh.
Park here if you can find a visitor parking spot not occupied by ESPN radio. No, low key. You ready? I had a trial scheduled for yesterday and today, and I got if I can toot my own horn, phenomenal resolution. Great resolution. But it's like going 0 to 90 miles per hour, and then you hit 90 and you hit the brakes. And so it's like all the adrenaline, all the trial preparation, all that. I'm like, ugh.
So, Brian, I'll be talking to you while I'm
Yeah,
here.
no, I can do this.
No.
Like Atlas, I got
You
this.
and me, we'll go back and forth. We'll let Mr. Humble Brag over here just do his own thing.
We've done it for years. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
we got it down, man.
So a couple of things before we jump into Mrs. Profita. And you are a goodly saint for marrying Bill and staying married to Bill for all these years. I got a couple of things to talk about. I came in third, Brian, for the Real Men Wear Pink.
What?
Third.
What happened?
Third. Another guy jumped in front of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were a solid second.
I was a solid second.
And really comfortable with it, though.
Yeah, I was okay. I'm having trouble with third. Now, in addition, still raised nearly $9,000. Thank you to fight breast cancer, American Cancer Society. Thank you, Karen. Also, we had the best dress ball, the cancer ball this weekend. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Shout out to the girls who organized that, the committee. They raised I think they raised close to $2 million. I know they raised over $1 million.
It's amazing. It's
yeah.
one of the largest in the country.
It's a lot of money, a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah. So I did want to give a shout out to that. But look, before we jump into the episode, let me thank our show sponsors. Let me thank the people that make the Geaux Rouge show possible. First and foremost, Dr. G, Dr. Gunja Reina with MDVIP, Concierge Medical. Go to her website, www.drreina.com. She is my medical guru. I talk to her on a daily basis. She has helped me get on this health kick. She told me today, no more excuses. You got to get a trainer. No more excuses. You got to get a trainer. And I'm playing the trainer game. You got to find a trainer, somebody to tone up, because when you lose 100 pounds, guys, and you already had kind of a dad bod, you have, let's just say, not a sexy body. So Dr. Reina is going to be helping me on that journey. www.drreina.com. We have La Divina Italian Cafe serving select wines, ice cold beer, plus their exclusive sorbet mimosa. I ran into Bill and Kevin today at La Divina, which is one of the reasons they're here today. So definitely check them out. Breakfast of Champions at La Divina, and then last but not least, the Borkart Law Firm, the finest criminal defense firm in the multiverse. So, without further ado, I was talking to my good friend Karen Profita recently. And I got the scuttlebutt from her that she is now in the real estate world.
Yeah.
And you're not just in the real estate world, but you're working at one of the finest brokerages, Ladder and Bloom.
That's awesome.
So I thought I would invite you in because I want to know, and I think people that love and care about you, at this phase of your life, what's going on? Real estate. You know, most people are kind of winding down at this phase of life. Yeah, you're never one to be winding down.
No.
So I ran into you, and as background, you are with Artemis, right? Also,
Yes.
Aren't you, in fact, former?
Queen Artemis 11.
Yes, Her Royal Highness.
Would you like to kiss?
No.
Yeah.
So as you know, I am friends with the current queen, Mimi,
Yes.
and I ran into you and Bill at a garden party, and that was when I found out, hey, you're doing real estate now. Walk me through that. How did you get into real estate?
Yeah. No, it's I've always been interested in it, and several years ago I looked at getting into it, and it's like, no, there's still a few things I felt I kind of needed to prove in my nonprofit career, and so stayed with that. And I don't know, I started looking around. Really, I think the thing that was a real turning point. We had a friend who was selling a house, and a high-end house. She was using a broker that's well known. And she got terrible customer service. And it was like, okay, I kept thinking, do I need to do? And it's like, no, there's a lot of people out there and not really paying attention to their clients, taking care of them the way I've learned to do over the years in my career.
So I've observed, and we're first and foremost, we're not going to gloss over your charity work you do, because you're generally known for your work in nonprofits and the fundraising and all that. So we're going to come back to that. But what I've observed in the limited number of houses I've bought and sold is there doesn't seem to be a lot, and I'm overgeneralizing because there are a lot of good realtors out there that do give TLC. But there is kind of this general, like, we don't really do a lot of work. And and the bad experience is you tell some realtors, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and they don't really listen, and it's kind of a, well, that's what you said, but I'm really going to find you something I'm trying to sell.
Yeah.
So something to prove. Now, look, you saying that makes me feel really insecure because you have a history of 7+ years in radio broadcasting. You've worked. You are a queen of Artemis.
Yeah.
I mean, how
Radio
many
coach for 9.5 years.
Yeah. How many different civic organizations are you in some way loosely involved with? Boards, all that stuff. So when I hear Karen Profita say, I felt like I had something to prove, I feel like I need to put my big boy pants on and like strap. So talk to me about that, though. I mean, that's
Yeah. No, I mean, the nonprofit world is really interesting,
Right.
And I felt a few years back, as I got a chance to really look in depth, that a lot of them, they weren't using a business approach.
Right.
I think it's about return on investment. The money that you just raised for breast cancer, you know what that's going to do. You know how that's going to go to research, how that is going to make a difference in people's lives. And I found there were so many nonprofit folks who couldn't even talk about it. I mean, you would ask them, they would come in to ask for money from United Way, and you'd say, okay, what would you do with this? And they couldn't explain to you how that dollar would make a difference in the community.
So what I think is exciting for you, and I told this to Bill, is because of your vast network, because of all the organizations you've been involved with, that situates you to be really good at being a realtor. because when I think of a realtor, I want somebody I can trust, that I know. I don't want it to be something that's very, it's buying a house is one of the biggest decisions you're going to financially make in your life. I mean,
and that's it. So having run organizations with, budget, at Children's Miracle Network, we were raising $52 million a year. I was managing a budget here at United Way of $10.5 million. So I know the numbers side of this, and that's what a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people picture real estate agent. It's fun, and they show you houses, and what do they really do? Well, there's so much behind the scenes that if it's done right, it's a good experience. If it's not done right, that's when you get that surprise, right? You think you're ready to close, and everything's wrong.
Right.
So it's just really important to do that. But the heart of it goes back to the radio. It's communication.
Right.
And so all those years sitting in that chair and doing interviews, learning how to listen, learning what was important to people. Same thing in a nonprofit doing fundraising. It was listening to, what do you want to see from those dollars? How can we make this worth your while and achieve something you want?
And expectation management.
Exactly.
The hardest part of my day job is when someone says, hey, I want you to turn lead into gold. And I'm like I'm really good. Look, guys, if you've learned nothing over the last 97 episodes, Brian, I have a heightened sense of self-worth when it comes to my day job. I love me some me when it comes to my day job. However,
should I hit the breaking news sound?
Yeah.
Did
My point is though, management of expectations in a kind, gentle way.
Yes.
So, okay, why Ladder and Blue? You
Oh,
probably could have had your pick of, Karen Profita could have her pick of whichever broker.
Yeah, that was a real surprise to me. That was the hardest decision because there are a lot of great places. And I looked around and, I looked at everything from some huge national organizations to kind of boutique firms that are small. And what I found in Ladder and Bloom, it's kind of like the three pairs. It was just right.
The porridge is just right, yeah.
Well, the nice thing is that they are a nationally ranked organization, but they're regional.
Right.
So, it feels closer to home. They're based out of New Orleans. That's where it was founded. And the support that they give, so that means somebody's working with me, there's 150 agents backing me up.
Right.
And most sales happen between agents, right? There's somebody working both sides. So we do sales meetings once a week, and it's like, hey, I've got somebody looking for this, or, I'm going to have this coming on the market. And look, in a market like this where things are moving so fast, there's almost contracts before the sign goes in.
So you mentioned before we went on air that you've done some research into the market. So, of course, having Karen Profita, a newly minted realtor, on the show, I want to talk a little bit about that. What are you seeing happening in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's not as many houses on the market.
Right.
So in the sales meeting, some of the agents were saying that's their biggest challenge right
So
now is finding
inventory.
the inventory,
Right.
right? And so I looked, and it really is like half of what it had been July a year ago. It's unbelievable. But it is still a seller's market. So that means houses are turning pretty fast. So there's not like a 3-month supply of houses out there. It's only a little over a month. So things are still turning fast. But I want to put a caveat on that. because in a way it's still such a buyer's market because the interest rates are so low.
Right.
So I even looked at, when it's a seller's market, your price per square foot's going to go up. So I figured, let's say it went up $10, so maybe this house is going to cost $32,000 more. But then I looked, and at these interest rates, if the interest rates go up even 1 point, maybe that's going to make $100 or so difference in your monthly payment.
Right.
Well, over a 30-year, that's $36,000. So you're still coming out ahead. So and I mean we've got recession-looking stuff coming at us, right? And so
we were
don't
just
know.
talking about that before we went on. So my industry is, and I'm sure Bill and Kevin and I will talk about this too. My industry, being criminal defense attorney, is pretty recession-proof. Somehow, some way, they just always finds a means or a way of paying my fee because they believe that if they don't pay my fee, their liberty
Worse
is
things
yeah.
could be.
So that was the big thing I noticed during the pandemic was the refinancing. My mortgage broker friends were all talking about like, hey, this is the time to refinance. The rates have never been better. I'm about to refinance my own house. So if I were me, where would I be looking right now? I'm a young, handsome attorney. I have an office downtown. Well, okay, Bill, I'll rephrase that. Bill just gave me a look. I'm a young single attorney. Got an office downtown.
Yep.
I got a son that goes to Mercy. Where should I be looking right now? What do you think?
Well, I mean, that's where, again, it's important that when you start out your search, you sit down with a realtor and really
Right.
talk about what's important to you.
Right.
Do you want that short commute? Is it like, I'm not a morning person, I better be able to roll out of bed and get right to my office? I want to be close to that. Or, are you thinking, God, I'm hearing more and more people. I'm kind of thinking a small town, like St. Francisville. I would love to be out and have some country and maybe some.
Let me tell you, if I could find the right house, and nobody will believe me, I love Baton Rouge. I got a show called Geaux Rouge. I love Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
If I could find the right house in St. Francisville, I would commute every single day and I would shut up and not say a word about it.
It's a phenomenal
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of places. And, I've been working, too, on a podcast about our small towns around the state.
Right,
and
right.
I'm just finding so many great communities. In Arnaudville, they were telling me all these young families are starting to move into Arnaudville.
So talk to me a little bit. Let's segue into that. Your podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing podcast-wise?
Yeah, so it's called No to Go Guides.
Okay.
Expect to launch it at the beginning of the year, so we're doing
Okay.
a little build up to it now. But I do it with Tia Embaugh, and the two of us go, and we've been to small towns all over and finding all these incredible restaurants, fun things to do. So it's that exit that you don't take, and you're
Right.
always like, or like when Bill and I go on a road trip, I like to find what can we do other than just in the big city, point A and point B. What's in between that I'm
So
missing?
I am going to Santa Fe next weekend
Oh.
for a conference.
Oh, beautiful.
I've never been to Santa Fe, and the first thing I started doing was, and I use social media for this. I will look for podcasts. I try to find the things that the locals know about that you need to do
Yes.
while you're there, whether that's historic, hiking, whatever, food. But I want to know. I want to know the gems. If you have a finite amount of
Yes.
time in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
town, or if you're just passing through and you have a meal, where do you need to go eat? Where's the place?
Do you know about New News in Arnaudville?
No.
Okay,
No.
so this is so crazy because everybody kept telling us, you got to go to Arnaudville. We're like,
Why does
what?
one need to go
I
to
would
Arnaudville?
never. It
Yeah.
wasn't on our list, right? And we got up there. First thing we
Where
did.
is that, by the way?
It's if you come right over the Atchafalaya, it's north, about a
Okay.
10-minute drive north, not too far from like Sunset and Opelousas
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of area. But New News is an art collective. Artists come from all over the world and will stay there and work on art projects.
Okay.
And the art they have for sale, absolutely amazing. And they do concerts there. They do all sorts of things. So then while we're in Arnaudville, we go over to Little Big Cup, which is a restaurant that's
Little Big Cup.
unbelievable. A great Cajun guy who moved to New York, get this, still has heavy Cajun accent, lived in New York for years working as a sex therapist. This should be a novel. And
Working as a what therapist?
a sex therapist.
Okay.
He meets a guy from Trinidad, and the two of them decide to come back to Arnaudville and open a restaurant because the guy from Trinidad wanted a Starbucks, and there isn't one.
All right, right.
So they said, we'll have to open our own place. This restaurant's gorgeous. It has a
Okay.
big deck that goes down to the bayou. You can sit out back, and the food's amazing.
So this
and
is about an hour drive from here?
45 minutes.
45 minutes?
Yeah. And then there's also Bayou Teche Brewery, and they've got a pizza place in there. that is unbelievable.
So if I wanted to get more information about this podcast, where would I go, Karen?
Yeah, Know to Go Guides is the name of it. But, just if you follow me on Facebook, I'll be able to connect you to it because we're just getting everything cranked up. And
so I was just about to ask you if I wanted to utilize your services or get in touch with you for your realtor. Yeah, if I just want to hire you, this is what 97 episodes of the Geaux Rouge Show looks like, low energy. Where would I find you? Where would I connect with you?
Yeah. You can find me. I've got my email through Ladder and Bloom, K Profita, and that's, of course, Profita, just like profit with any at the end, at ladderbloom.com. And then I've got a website, too, with Ladder Bloom.
So if you're just now turning in, we're sitting down with Karen Profita, who is just like a Renaissance woman of sorts. Anything coming up in your world? I mean, so we just now are starting to have events again.
Yes.
I am going to have Abigail on next week to talk about Fête Rouge. It's Fête Rouge, right? Is that the next one?
This one's, I always get my fêtes confused.
I think it's
Rouge?
Fête Rouge,
Okay.
yeah. This is the mecca, the big daddy of food events, right?
Yes.
So what is coming up in your world socially that we need to know about or that is on your radar?
Oh, gosh.
It's like Saturday style all over again.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's just so many things opening up again. And, you've got Alzheimer's has their walk coming up this weekend. We're going to a fun thing for Homeless House tonight. They're doing,
that's nice.
Yeah, it's a big wine event that'll be happening at the museum there. And thank goodness Mardi Gras season's coming back. We're actually going to have balls and things again, right? Or sprays.
I'm very excited about Artemis. My ego is vast, as you know, and I'm trying to negotiate either being at the Queen's or the King's table. So I've been kind of subtly telling Scott or Mimi, hey, I'm available to sit at your table.
Why not start lobbying for King? That's.
So here's the thing. I feel it is my, dare I say, destiny to one day have a crown.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not
and white tights.
Yeah. Yes. I believe that would be a good look. I'll confer with Kevin. When he's on. I think me being a king of a Mardi Gras crew that's all women's crew makes sense to me.
The fun of going to pick out the crown is.
I've heard you go to Alabama, right?
You go to Mobile.
Yeah.
And they close down the store just for you, and you try things on, and they tell you the history of your crown, and they do a little customization. It's awesome.
If I ever get to be a king of a Mardi Gras crew, Brian, I'll allow you to be a page.
And wait, how did you not ever go to the Mardi Gras ball in Washington? I'm still so flipped out.
So I've just I've never gone to DC Mardi Gras ball.
Once you go,
it's on my radar.
You're on the crew. You're never missing it again because it is so you. Of all people, I was like, no.
So we're about to hit our first break. We've been talking to Karen Profita again. One more time, what's the email address to get in touch with you from Ladder and Bloom?
kprofita@ladderbloom.com.
All right, I'm glad you came in today.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's okay. I am always enthusiastic about anybody who decides at any point in their life, I'm going to do something new.
Yeah.
I'm going to just do something new. And look, I was telling your husband, it makes perfect sense to me. I think your personality, your people skills, you are, look, we'll talk about Bill in a second, but I have never, for the most part, Karen, everybody I know that talks about you is just like, Karen's just a really good person, does good stuff. And you know what? That is to me what I want as a realtor, as a lawyer. That's, someone was asking me the other day, Karen, I know we got about a minute left. Where do you get all your clients from? It's just networking. It's just, Franz is a good guy. He'll take care of you.
Yes.
So we're going to take our first break. Karen, thank you so much for coming. You're always, this will be the second time you're on the show, but you're always welcome. We're going to be taking our first break, and then we're going to have Bill and Kevin from Morning Exiles on the second half. We will be right back.
God, I wish you would have been around when I was getting my king.
Well, I hear that's the other thing is you want to the key is it's really about who the queen is and then somebody that would complement the queen.
Well, originally they invited Bill to do it with me, and we were going to do it, and then we realized what it cost. And no, that's like a car if both of us do it. No, so
I think Bill would be an excellent king.
He would have been emperor.
Oh.
Yeah, that ego didn't need anymore.
We are, you are.
All right, so Bill and Kevin, y'all come on down. I'm going to move to to the less than stellar mic so that they can have their own. I need to hear Kevin's voice. I just want to hear Kevin's voice.
Really well.
Take your time, Kevin. We're just over here waiting on you, Kevin. Kevin,
Karen.
Don't rush him.
So other than having Karen's voice as my voicemail, I want Kevin's voice. I could listen to Kevin talk.
My voice is not what it
Whip
used to
out,
be.
whip out your checkbook.
I would pay Kevin. Yeah, can be arranged, right? You want a chair?
I'm
No,
his,
you're right here.
I'm his agent.
Here, move your chair. Look, rather than you doing some heavy lifting, look, I'm moving my chair.
And we'll just shift.
So if you're wondering why Kevin and Bill are in the studio, it's because I would not be in radio, as Bill will remind you. Bill made me. He's responsible. I would not be in radio if it weren't for Bill and Kevin. So
Yeah, well.
okay, this chair is
Sometimes,
the Jay Ducote chair.
sometimes what you
chair.
consider to be a best creation changes.
What the hell happened there?
That was God.
Hold on, Brian.
Bull in a china shop. Wow.
I was having this same issue earlier this week. So 2-minute intro, and then we're just going to turn it over to you guys. It's your show.
No, it's not.
Too soon? Feels like it's too soon.
Do we need to control our mics? Or you got them? You got them?
He's got him.
Abigail, absolutely fabulous this morning. It's just a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. She did have a reduction.
I never.
This is hot video.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is open for business and ready to serve our customers with disaster relief employee pricing for those in our community affected by Hurricane Ida. And all new Bayou Ford Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram vehicles come with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. Located off I-10 on Belterre Boulevard in LaPlace. If you need sales, service, or fleet, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This year, we're letting our customers speak for us.
One of the best things I did in 2020 was call Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal. They did such a great job on our roof that 3 of my neighbors hired them, and 4 houses on the next block did too. Thank you, Premier South Roofing.
For your free estimate in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and the North Shore, go to PremierSouthLA.com for premier craftsmanship.
Blew my load there.
Customer service.
Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Test. Check.
Have you been arrested or even issued a traffic ticket? Everyone makes mistakes. Hi, I'm Dana Brown from the law offices of O.C. Brown. If you find yourself in an unfortunate situation with the law, call us today, and we can help you resolve your problem, whether it's just a traffic matter or something more serious. No criminal matter is too big or too small for us to aggressively and effectively represent you. Before making any decisions, call us at 225-343-1111.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. This is Franz Borkart. You're in episode 97. 3 more episodes, guys. 3 more, and I get a set of steak knives from Guarantee Broadcasting.
No.
Maybe plastic
And you
steak
can
knives?
go into reruns on TBS.
Yes.
If you,
Dude, that's where I hear the real money is.
if you
TBS
make
reruns.
If you make it to 100, they'll paint your name on a parking spot.
So if you're hearing the sweet sounds
Years.
of familiar voices, that is Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. I've have them as my special guests this week. For those who don't know, my early start in radio, not that I was referred to as a radio personality the other day, and I thought that was an unfair moniker because,
No, it's not unfair.
I mean, have I earned that yet? I don't know if I've earned that yet.
Well, yeah, you're a personality.
You're 97 episodes into your own show.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you're not always talking about legal matters.
So someone asked me the other day, how was it that I got into radio? In fact, I was talking at an LSU journalism class, and I said, it's actually Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher got me into radio. Brian Johnson was your legal commentator, I think, for your old show.
Yeah.
And he decided, I think, for whatever reason, he was either unavailable or it was a criminal matter that he was like, you need to really talk to somebody that knows this.
Yeah,
area.
he actually spoke very glowingly of your expertise, and it was a criminal matter.
Yeah.
I believe it was right around the time of the Alton Sterling case, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
When there were all kinds of charges and accusations and investigations going on.
So to quote Bill Profita, I made you, Franz, and this is the reason we have this monster. But look, before we get into Bill and Kevin, And I am very excited to have Bill and Kevin here. Occasionally I get to come on your new show,
Yeah.
The Morning Exiles.
And just about any time we ever ask you to.
Yeah.
You may be in the middle of your breakfast and we go,
Well,
go over and grab a mic.
Sometimes when we don't have.
That is a great segue. You guys record that at La Divina Italian Cafe, which serves select wines, ice cold beer, plus their sorbet mimosa, and fresh from scratch breakfast every single day.
Sounds like live copy to me.
Yeah, I need to start doing that kind of stuff. They're one of our show sponsors. We also have the Borkart Law Firm, the finest criminal defense firm in the multiverse. And then last but not least, Dr. Raina. I don't know if you guys have ever met Dr. Raina. She's my concierge medical doctor. Crazy lady, but is very, very good at what she does. You can check her out at drraina.com. If you want to know how I've lost nearly 100 pounds, if you want to know how I beat Brian Haldane in the Fat Boy 50.
I got an email, by the way. It's looking like 3 weeks. Seriously.
I won't hold my breath.
No.
I was supposed to get a championship belt for winning this Fat Boy 50 competition, guys.
And rather than buying it locally, I ordered it online.
That's okay.
But did you have the right size? Because you lost all that weight.
What?
You could have ordered too large.
We
It's
purchased
literally
it.
on a slow boat from China.
It is on a stopped boat off the coast of Long Beach.
Customs is a funny thing. So, look, Dr. Raina, wonderful, wonderful lady. Concierge medicine means that if I have any issue, 24/7, I can text her. I'm going to try to get her on the show on Tuesday. But before we jump in,
text her as Franz and tell her he's got a drip that he is worried about.
Stop. Okay, so that's a good segue on to Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. So, for those who don't know, these guys used to be here on Talk 107.3. They then started a podcast, TV show called The Morning Exiles. I run into these guys on a regular basis. I consider them both very dear friends of mine, as well as just an excellent source of media content. Thank you. I'm glad, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. We got about 20 minutes together. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. First and foremost, Kevin, I am glad to see you back in the saddle.
Me too.
So welcome to the show, guys. Start with, what is The Morning Exiles?
Well, it actually, Kevin called me, I guess it was just 3 or 4 weeks maybe after our run here at Guarantee ended, and said, hey, let's go do something out in public. And we actually looked into some podcast equipment that at that time was first generation stuff. It was kind of cutting edge, and we plunked down for some really good microphones, and Kevin plunked down for a really good control board. We hooked it all up, and we figured out how to work it. And we started to realize we had a lot of old friends that would be able to connect with us through Facebook Live, and then we would post it up to YouTube and all that. And George Morris from The Advocate did a really nice story on us,
Yeah, it was.
which led to an online TV station trying to recruit us, but we just couldn't make it work there.
Right.
And then we went over to Pelican Broadcasting. And started thinking, but it was just us. And it isn't a matter for me of unfinished business. It's a matter of we've always known that there was a niche market for the kind of thing we do, and
Two grumpy old dudes.
yeah, grumpy.
Well, you're not grumpy.
Is chic again. Yeah.
Grumpy is not. I don't. Yeah.
Come on, we're Statler and Waldorf, for crying out loud.
But
Better?
it's not worse. It's just now I'm in the shot without
So-
a mic in my face.
So,
Yeah.
so essentially, the show for those who don't know, the show is Bill and Kevin talking about politics, education, stuff that's going on around Baton Rouge. I mean,
Mostly
you name
local stuff.
local stuff. You name it. You guys talk
Yeah,
about.
we
it.
talk about entertainment. We also have time for our audience. I mean, our audience does skew a little bit older, and we talk about music, movies, television. I think the real key is there are enough people on television, radio, Facebook, telling you what you're supposed to be mad about and telling you when you're supposed to be mad about it. And I'm just not doing that anymore.
Right.
I didn't like it when it was our fault, talk radio's fault.
Right.
And I don't like it today.
Well, I'm more than willing to tell anyone who's listening what I'm mad about, but I'm not going to tell you what you should be mad about.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing is there are times when I do legal commentary where I am inflamed and angry and I'm mad about something, but in the same breath I can change gears at any moment and say, but if I were a prosecutor, X, Y, and Z.
Boom, boom.
And I have been a prosecutor, so I can say X, Y, and Z. However, that being said, what's interesting to me though is we're in a world right now. You may have noticed it, and in fact, Karen Profita was on the show just now. We're in a world now. You know Karen Profita.
Yeah,
Bill,
I've heard of her.
God, she is such a goodly woman. She's a saint. Like, how many years y'all been married?
Well, we just passed 34.
34
in the month
years.
of September.
She's doing flat time, day for day with Bill Profita.
Yeah, no parole.
No
good
parole,
time.
no good time. So what I've noticed is, and I say this as a guy that does occasionally podcasts. I mean, depending on who you talk to, some people call this Geaux Rouge show a radio show. Some people call it a podcast. Some people call it a video vlog or whatever.
It's both.
It's everything, right? Everybody though now wants to do a podcast, which is one of the things. Which is one of the things I love about you guys is part of what you do is you help people realize and get up and going as to their vision of doing a podcast.
Yes.
Getting the equipment, giving ideas, and that's a service that you guys do as a business.
Well, we can coach them through. I'm very happy. LABI. We spec'd and installed their studio, but we also coached them on topicality, how to run it, and gee, their podcast, they're rolling every single day, and they make it available to their members, which kind of gives me a thrill.
Right.
Of course, it takes their members out of our market. We can't sell them anything because they're getting it for free at LABI. But
Go.
Well, but still, I think what we're going to be seeing in the future is, and it's
Everyone will have one.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think that's what Zuckerberg's vision.
What does he call his social media?
Metaverse.
Is it the metaverse?
And basically,
Metaverse.
everybody will have their own Facebook show.
And the thing is, I worry about that because, and this is my opinion only.
When everyone is super, no one will be.
Well, it becomes the egoverse. And there are already too many people that really don't have anything to say, and they're saying it too loudly, too stridently, and too frequently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people ask me all the time, I think that my friends and I should start a podcast. What are you going to talk about? You know, and they say, well, we're just kind of funny together. And it's like, so basically your dad jokes work on each other and you think you're going to draw an audience. Are you?
And what's problematic on top of that is, and look, 97 episodes in, I will say there are things that I think are going to work as an episode that I know don't work. And then there are things, and which I have a huge respect for you guys, as well as Brian Haldane. I only have to come up with content once a week for an hour. You know, Brian has a morning show on top of all the other gigs you do, Brian, 3 hours a day, every single day.
Yep.
That to me is, and look, it's easier, and I am not, as you guys all know, listening out there, sports is not my repertoire. It's easy talking about sports in the sense of you're talking about things that are happening, and there's a multitude of different teams, sports, all that stuff. And then nobody's ever really right on that. So if you're waxing commentary on basketball or football, you know, Brian may say, hey, I think X, Y, and Z, and somebody else, and there can be a 3-hour discussion on that. Talking about things every single day, though, different things every single day, that's tough. That's tough business.
Well, and I gave Brian propers on Facebook, but I'd like to take the opportunity now in a broadcast format to say that after Hurricane Ida, if you wanted to know, 3 days after Hurricane Ida, if you wanted to know what the hell was going on, you had to listen to Brian. Because Brian was the only one. By Wednesday, everybody else had checked out, and Brian was the only one that seemed to think that, hey, people still got no power, people still got no water, people still need to know where to get gas.
Well, and that's when they're the most anxious.
Right.
In the aftermath, when they're sitting in the dark or the hot or both.
Yeah, and you know, big kudos to Brian for being the only broadcaster that stayed on it. Everybody else is, we're going back to music. I don't want to hear music.
I appreciate it, and yeah, it was was it like a 2-week stretch where, and even after we were back to like regular format, it was still continual updates that wasn't long form.
Sure, because it needs to be updated.
Yeah, but this is the world we live in. I mean, it's expensive to run news talk round the clock. So
It is.
It is.
Whereas podcasting with a social media or YouTube live stream, I mean, honestly, I like being on the radio. I like being my ego. loves being able to say I got my own radio show. But that being said, everything I do could just as easily be on Facebook or YouTube.
You start to
Oh, it
run.
is.
You start to run into clutter. You're going to run into with everybody. I mean, the equipment now for podcasting is fairly inexpensive.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, you don't run up a big electric bill like if
I don't
you're
feel
running
like-
a transmitter, but you run into clutter. I'll give you a good example. I have, for the last 2 months, been actually keeping a log of this. And I am someone who always defended network TV entertainment. I always liked what was on network TV in terms of entertainment. And I spend maybe one primetime hour a week with the networks now, maybe two. The rest of the time is on Netflix because the clutter on network television, you've got 5 medical procedurals, one trying to be politically correct, has somebody who's on the spectrum who's operating on people, like that would really happen, okay?
That was a real show, by the way. An autistic doctor.
Yeah, it is. It's called The Good Doctor. You've got 3 emergency call shows. ABC's got one where it's actually just a camera and a microphone in the emergency call center as they're taking. And then you got 911, which is a drama. You've got 5 or 6 legal procedurals. You've got 2 fire procedurals. You got Station 19. Oh, you got 3 actually. 911, Station 19, and Chicago Fire.
Let's not forget Tacoma FD, the best firefighter program on TV.
And they have cluttered themselves to the point where you just don't want to do any of them. And I fear that's what's going to happen to a lot of podcasting. There are a lot of very nice people that say, oh, it'd be fun to do a podcast. Well, we're going to talk about restaurants. Well, there's 150 people talking about restaurants. What happens is you get this blanket, everybody's out.
Yep, saturation bomb.
Yeah.
My podcast, Pet Peeve, and this is predominantly on YouTube, is that there are too many people on YouTube that are basically doing regular podcasts that they put up, and they don't care if what they're saying is factual.
Yeah.
At all.
Who's going to let a little thing like facts get in the way of entertainment?
I'm not talking about political crap. Some of it is really, really niche audience type stuff. Like, I saw one the other day where this guy was going into this whole long, it was 18 minutes long. He talked about how Brie Larson has been fired from the role of Captain Marvel in the Marvel superhero movies. First of all, who gives a rat's butt? And second of all, it's not true.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we call it clickbait on the web. I mean,
it's hard to actually bring factual knowledge. This happened yesterday, and this is on Network News. This is Gayle King on CBS this morning.
Gayle.
Yeah, and they
I'm
had
not going to say anything right now.
they had The Rock on, and he was talking about on his action movies, they're going to spend the extra money to CG all the gunfire and all that, and they're not going to use real firearms anymore.
Right, I saw that.
And they come back to the desk, and this is talking about the Alec Baldwin thing, and she said, well, were they using real guns? And her co-hosts...
On the set of Rust?
Yeah, but this is her on the set of CBS this morning. They were left with either shutting up and going to commercial early or saying, what the hell do you think shot that woman and killed her? But
now I'm going to say something about Gayle King.
Well, she doesn't have to do her homework.
She's an nincompoop.
But the thing is, we have a society that has empowered the stupid. And a big part of empowering the stupid is they don't have to have any actual knowledge.
So to some degree, I profit off that.
You're not stupid.
Yeah, I just said that out loud. I'm a criminal defense attorney.
Well, okay.
I mean, I'm not going to say I profit off the misfortune of others, but I profit off the misfortune of others.
Franz needs a jingle.
Oh, no.
We got to write Franz a jingle.
So we could have a contest. That would be the Geaux Rouge. That's the swan song off the air. is the come up with a law firm jingle for Franz.
I was going to suggest
With
Big
a-
Free to get on the job, but Juan LaFonta beat you.
No, I don't like Juan LaFonta.
But that wasn't a jingle.
I
That was
think
a
you have
soundtrack.
to. I think you have to have a cash prize for the top jingle. I think if it's a, I mean, what's
See,
an
I don't think
appro-
we can do that. I think we're violating FCC regs if we do that. No cash prize, bragging rights only.
for the number one jingle for recently. I know we're running low on time, but recently I was invited to join a fraternity. There's a story behind this. I do a lot of volunteer work for the Pike fraternity, and Pike's offered me to join. I thought it was an honorary membership, but apparently it's a postgraduate full blown.
They need an attorney on staff for
So-
the next hazing death. Aren't you getting this?
So
Franz the Tank. Franz the Tank.
so they asked me to join. I said yes, and the first thing I said was, "Do I get a pledge name?" And I was told, "You've had a pledge name for quite some time now."
Flounder.
No, Saul. Saul.
Better call
Better
Saul.
call Saul. To my point that I made
Yeah.
just a few seconds ago.
Yeah. So
It's not because you're pretty.
no. So okay, if you're just now tuning in, I'm sorry. Bill Profita, Kevin Gallagher. Wow.
Wow.
You knew this was going
I
to
have
happen.
3 episodes left and I'm done. So I had to have you guys on. I joke about that. So my law practice, and Brian and I have talked about it off air, my law practice is going okay right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I struggle with, and this is one of the things I want to talk about before we run out of time, is what I struggle about is I tell people all the time, if you're going to do a podcast, radio, or whatever, you got to be consistent. You got to have a consistent concept. You have to have a consistent time, place, and all that. And what I'm starting to struggle with is I'm doing okay as a lawyer, and that means that giving an hour or two out of my day on a Friday sometimes means I have to tell a judge, "Hey, I can't be in your court because I have a radio show that has nothing to do with law," which some of them like. Judge Lanou, shout out to Judge Lanou, Parish Court in Ascension. She apparently listens to Brian's show. She listens to y'all's show. She's like, "Hey, I heard you on the radio the other day," and I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." And then you're like, "Did I say something really bad that could
Yeah,
be
what did I
offensive?"
say? What did I say?
What did I say? So yeah, I knew what I was getting myself into when I had you guys on the radio today. But nonetheless, I genuinely, and this again, I'm not just saying this tongue in cheek or any other way. I genuinely am grateful for you guys because I would not be in the radio business at all
Look,
if it wasn't for you two.
We just gave you an opportunity to show off your innate skills.
Well, and I'm going to
And
tell you.
Bill will tell me when I'm doing things wrong, whether I ask for it or not. Bill will tell
Oh
me.
yeah.
And I appreciate
It's one
it.
of his more
Now,
enduring
whether you
qualities.
listen,
Yeah, whether you listen. But when Karen was in with you, she talked about coaching radio stations for 9.5 years
Right.
all over the world. And that is what they really did. Their broadcasts for Children's Miracle Network, their radiothons, a lot of the on-air talent had to be coached into greatness in an area they weren't quite familiar with. And that's the big thing about any kind of broadcasting. You are very coachable. The other person,
Brian may disagree with you on that.
the other person that we kind of created, Karen more so than me, is Rachel Cannon of Rachel Cannon Interiors, and her podcast
Rachel.
is an absolute rocket.
And what I love about Rachel is not an extrovert.
No,
And that is her shtick.
well, that's her hook.
You know,
Yeah.
you are also one of the go-to guys for criminal law expertise at the Louisiana Radio Network.
Yeah,
When they
yeah.
they got a criminal story, we call Franz Borghardt and get an interview with Franz and get some sound bites.
So people ask me, and we're running out of time, people ask me, why is it that you do WBRZ, WAFB, and all these different legal commentaries?
They ask.
And I said, some of it is I show up on time, and I don't say stupid stuff. And by stupid stuff, I mean both the legal content and as well as I stick to my lane, and I don't try to be too hyperbolic. Now, on Brian's show, I'm very hyperbolic because that's part of the shtick, too. But that being said, they ask. And you know, it's funny because people used to make fun of me for the legal commentary, and then Hiller got on and started doing legal commentary. And then prosecutors started getting on, and it was like, well, all of a sudden it's not silly to do legal commentary. And I love it. I love doing it. Now, look, we're about out of time. Again, one more time, if I want to find the Morning Exiles show, where would I go?
The Morning Exiles on Facebook. All the information is there, and then we also have things that we upload to YouTube. We're probably going to actually get a formal podcast distributor around the first of the year.
Well,
Yep.
Well, always grateful
And
for you
the
guys.
television show is on hiatus. It's on production hiatus, but
Cool.
it will be back.
Awesome. Awesome.
But
Well,
thanks for having us.
no problem, Bill, Kevin. Thank you guys. It's always a treat to spend time with you guys. And one of the cool things, things come full circle. One of the cool things is when I have a radio show now, I get to have you guys on my show.
Well, and,
There you go.
And to your audience, you can do better.
Yeah, true. All right, on that note, that's about it for this episode of Go Rouge.
Kidding.
We'll be back next week, maybe. Thank you, Brian. We are still on YouTube, guys. I'm thinking there should be
Ciao,
some.
baby.
I think there should be some merit to this contest, this law firm jingle contest.
Yeah, it's got to be kind of like,
How would you package this?
Well, first I'd like to say that I don't know whose jingle I like better, Spencer Callahan's,
Which is you can't forget it.
or the guy who uses the exact. I'm just trying to remember his name. The guy uses the exact same jingle.
I think dial Franz for freedom is your hook on the jingle.
First felony, half off. I don't know. No,
No,
that's not true.
no, you can't. You can't do that. You can't do that. It's got to be. First of all, I used to do a lot of jingles. It's got to be a good song. Okay.
Okay.
If you remember when you were a kid, all those Cortana jingles, I did every one of those. It's got to be a good song. So you start with "Call Franz for Freedom," and then you build
Set
it
to
from
the
there.
set to the soundtrack of the theme song from the Jeffersons.
Well, no.
That won't work.
Judge,
You know what?
Judge Trudy
I
kind of
think
killed
rather
that one.
than come up with a jingle, what you need to do for your television commercial is use the Vanilla Fudge version of "You Keep Me Hanging
Oh
On,"
yeah.
and just have set me free,
Yeah, there
why
you go.
don't you, babe?
You can hire
Call
like
Franz
Chase
Ford.
Tyler and get him an electrical guitar and have him
There is
whacking out the
so
chords.
If you ever go down last thing, I know Brian has other things to do.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you ever go down the YouTube rabbit hole of lawyer commercials, there's the Law Hawk one that's worth watching. There's the one
I've
where
seen that one.
Yeah, there's the one where the guy has a truck and he starts bashing a car.
Yeah.
There's
There
one.
are law tigers.
Oh my God, they're so beautiful.
Law tiger.
Louisiana has rules on advertising. Anyways, guys, thank you guys.